I've been trying to get a wedding photographer because we've never had that. Everybody we've ever had on as a guest has done what I call like editorial or corporate, not necessarily shooting executives, but they're working for Sony, they're working for Atlantic Records, they're working for magazines and stuff. We've never had someone who works with regular people selling prints or being hired to shoot a wedding. So I've been wanting to get one. So I throw up an ad on Craigslist like, hey, I got this podcast, here's the link, I'm looking for a wedding photographer. Okay, and I get a decent number of responses, and I'm going to try to get one on the next podcast. And Ray will be on that podcast, by the way.
Yay, Ray will be back.
Yes, which is good. So one of the people who responded, because everybody who responded, I looked at their work because I wanted it to be someone who is established and good at what they do. We've done the episode several times about like what you need to do to break into the industry, what you need to do to get started. I didn't want it to be that. So I wasn't looking for a wedding photographer who was like learning the ropes, because that just wasn't the focus of this episode that I want to do. I want to talk about someone who's established. So one of the people who responded, I look at her site, and the work is pretty bad. Now, I know you're never allowed to say it's bad because, you know, you can't judge it, and who are you, whatever.
Who are you?
I don't know. But I make my judgments, and I go, this work is not particularly good. And certainly not the person that I would want to be a guest, because, again, that's not what this episode is about.
Right.
I want somebody who's established. We have a different conversation. But being the busybody that I am, I feel a need to say to the person, like, I can help you. Because I do that, and I know, like, nobody does that, and I'm sure it sounds really dumb. It might even sound obnoxious. I don't know, but
obnoxious would be the word, yes.
Okay, but look at where I came from. I taught high school for 10 full years in the New York City Board of Ed. I spent 10 years of my life helping people, teaching them. I know how to teach. I was putting up YouTube instructional videos.
It doesn't mean that everyone, though, doesn't mean everyone wants your critique. It just does not.
I know.
Like, that's just, it is somewhat obnoxious to think that, you know, just because you have something to say about someone's work that is so personal. Right. You know, you have to wait until people are ready to hear things like that.
No, you're correct. You are correct. But I'm just saying, in my defense,
I don't care what your background is.
But in my defense, I do have a background in educating. And the thing is that you could look at someone's work and go, and again, I know we're not supposed to make these judgments, but let's just drop that for 1 second. You could look at someone's work and go, hey, your work sucks. Right. But it doesn't mean that that person who can judge the work as sucking has the ability to explain why it sucks or how to make it better. That's a whole separate skill. Right. And I have that ability. I do. Again, I taught for 10 years.
But then maybe you should have a business where it's your job.
Right, like a consultant.
Right, but you can't, just because you meet someone and you're looking at their work, does not mean that they're looking for you to critique it.
Correct, but I have had people,
I feel like it's okay, it's okay to have someone say, hey, can you tell me what you think? Then it's completely and totally okay for you to do that.
Right, and I have had a bunch of people. I've told you stories about it. People,
and that's fantastic.
Emailed me, called me, whatever.
Right, and that's great.
And
but this, you're unsolicited.
I know. So,
you know, recommendations though, even in my life, is annoying.
Yeah, I know.
You can't even find the help in it because it's just annoying.
I do it to you all the time.
I know,
and you hate it.
Yes, I do.
But at least you know how to go toe to toe with me, right? Yeah. But anyway, so I'm going to read you the email that I sent to the person. And again, I know the email sounds crazy. I'm not trying to say I am the most sane person.
Because you're not.
I'm just not. I know nobody does this, and I'm crazy. But anyway, this is the email I sent to her. I said,
fire away.
Thank you for responding to my solicitation for a Camera Work podcast guest. This will be a hard email for you to read, but here goes anyway.
No, you did not. No, you didn't.
I did. I know. I'm not saying
it'll be a hard email, but oh, Jesus. Go ahead. Go on.
All right. So I said, there is a lot, and I put quote, at least I put quote. There is a lot wrong with your work. I'd be glad to give you a half-hour consultation about what is not right and how you might go about fixing it. There's a few lighting things and a few books I'd recommend to you. This is not a solicitation for money in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate you offering to be a guest on the podcast, and in return, I'm offering to sit down with you for half an hour, give you some insight into how you can improve what you're doing. And this isn't a form letter that I wrote to everyone who responded to the posting, because I was afraid you would think, oh, you threw up this thing about I want a guest,
spam or whatever.
Yeah, and then I'm just emailing everybody like, oh, let me help you work because I've got this consulting, and it's not. So I put that disclaimer in.
Disclaimer was added.
I wrote, I'm writing this to you after checking out your site.
Right.
And I put, I know the ego can get in the way. It can be hard to read an email like this, but if you're able to...
John Ricard, the psychologist, speaking about the id and the ego.
I'm shifting gears.
Go on now.
I said, but if you're able to drop your ego, send me an email and we can schedule a quick sit down. Okay. And okay, and I said, let me know.
As she picks up her heart and her face and everything after reading this email, let me hear the response.
Right. So I said, let me know, even if you don't take me up on the offer.
Is this a female or male?
It was a female. I said, let me know, even if you don't take me up on the offer, best of luck to you, okay?
Now, would you do this for a male? Let's ask, let's hear her response and then let's talk about
the response is very short.
Let's talk about the gender.
But I would have done it for a male, yes, and I have done it. Like I said, I could name people, but it would be like...
But people who solicit, yeah? You don't have to name people, but are these people saying to you, well, hey, what do you think?
Not all the time, but sometimes people have. But again, there's people who have helped.
Let's have that conversation afterwards.
But she wrote in response. She wrote, John, I did not email you for your critiques. I know. Some of that even was funny to me.
Right.
I know. Even that, I was like,
done.
I saw that. I was like, here we go.
Serve. Go on.
But anyway, she wrote, John, I did not email you for your critiques of my work. I emailed for the podcast. Have a good day.
Damn
regards.
straight.
And she put her name. I'll call her Jane, which isn't her name. She put regards, Jane. But here's my point. You can make whatever point you want. Okay, my point. Again, what is that? That's fear. That's all it is. Because, and I know I'm cutting.
It's not fear. You insulted the woman.
No. Okay, even if I insulted you.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is.
She might not need your help.
Oh, she does. I guarantee you. And again, I don't care how obnoxious it sounds. She can look at my work and she can see that my work is stronger than hers. Right. She can see that there is a vision to the work and that there is a technical correctness in terms of how things are lit and how things are composed. Now, aesthetically, you may not like it, but you can't argue with the technical part being correct and that there is a vision, that there's some type of a statement being made in my work if you look at my site. And she can look at her work and she knows it's not there. Right. You know I can help you. And again, I have a track record of this because, again, I was putting up...
So what is she afraid of, though?
I'm going to tell you one second.
What would she be afraid of?
But I put up YouTube videos years before that kind of thing was popular. I've been doing instructional videos. I've been giving out instructional information for years on the internet. Again, long before Creative Live and these things made it popular.
But let me just say this.
Oh, what she's afraid of is the embarrassment of facing
No, but let me interject because, like, you have to understand that the one thing I always say to you as well is it's not like... Even with me, I don't want to accept your advice or your expertise. But there's a way that you approach someone.
Right.
There's just a way to approach someone.
Right.
And that's not it. It just isn't.
But your thing is always like, hey, it's not what you're saying, it's the way you say it.
Right. And the way you worded that email was just condescending. It was. And like you said,
it was honest. It was honest, and sometimes you just need to hear the honesty. And the thing is that...
then sometimes people's egos are going to get hurt, and they're not going to respond the way you think they should.
Hey, that's not my problem. And like, sucking at photography is not a lifelong condition. You can fix it. And believe me, I can sit with you for half an hour and explain what's wrong with this shot and what you need to do to make it better.
Right.
But the thing, like I'm saying, it's fear because you don't want to face that honesty. You don't want it. You want to just pretend you're... And mind you, the person who I'm talking about, by the way, and this is for anybody who understands photography, there's a person whose website says, I do weddings and you get the CD of the entire wedding when we're done. And people who really shoot weddings know right off the bat that that is not a successful wedding shooter because the successful wedding shooters, they're selling prints and they're holding on to the digital negatives. They're some of the best businessmen in the entire, and businesswomen in the entire photography business because they're not doing work for hire.
Right.
They're not taking little tiny day rates. They're making a lot of money, a lot of these people. And with the ones who are like just burning a CD at the end of the shoot, those are not the people doing great wedding photography.
Right.
So, and I would tell you that, but you don't want to hear it. You'd rather pretend and go to Facebook.
Well, yeah, she'd rather pretend and
go to Facebook and Instagram
run along
and have all
do
these
her
likes.
Thing,
Right. And you're kidding yourself, but like Tupac said.
But she's happy. She's fine. She's supporting herself and doing what she wasn't asking for she wasn't soliciting your advice.
No, she wasn't.
Expertise.
Like she told me in the email.
She sure did.
But I've quoted it before, but like Tupac said, you can tell the people you roll with.
Tupac.
You can tell the people you roll with whatever you want, but you and I know what's going on. And that's one of my philosophies of life.
Tupac knows.
He knew. And the thing is, it's like I'm saying, she can tell all the people on Facebook, she can tell her boyfriend, all these other people that she's a great photographer.
Right.
But you and I know what's going on, and what's going on is you suck, and I'd be willing to help you because you tried to help me on my podcast. It's only going to take me half an hour, knock it out quick. You're afraid to do it.
Well, she didn't want your help.
Hey, nobody wants my help. Do you want my help? Do you ever want my help? No. Okay. So I'm very used to nobody wanting my help. That, is completely fine with me. But I'm going to continue to do it, and every now and then someone is going to respond and they're going to be like, wow.
And God will love you for it.
And oh my God, it's so funny. I wish I could find the email. I doubt that I could. But talk about something if you can, so I can see if I can find this email. Talk about something.
Like what?
I don't know. Talk about something. Let me see if it shows up in the search. Because it would be a perfect example of me helping someone.
What's the email that you're trying to pull up?
I guess I'll do it without.
Oh, if you helping someone,
yes.
You help people all the time, John Ricard. You are the Mother Teresa
see, this would have been
photography.
A really good point, though.
You are.
Oh man, I wish I had it, but I'll try to tell it without reading the actual email. Okay, but the story is slightly weaker without the email. But essentially, I was at a jiu-jitsu tournament and I was shooting it, and some girl came up to me and she said, "How do you get a pass to shoot the tournament?" And I said to her, what you do is basically you find an outlet, find somebody who's going to run the pictures,
right?
And you email the people who run the tournament. And you're like, "Hey, I'm shooting for such and such. Can I come and shoot the tournament?" And I did something for her that, in a sense, could be considered wrong, but I did it anyway. I said, "Look." She was from a school that was pretty prominent in jiu-jitsu. I said, they might let you because your school is pretty big in jiu-jitsu. They send enough students in. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you the email of who you would email.
Right.
Just don't mention my name. Don't say you got the email from me. Just act like you got this dude's email from God knows where.
Right.
I just gave her the email. I extended myself to her. I didn't have to do that. Right. I just said, here's the email, whatever. So 6 months pass. I'm shooting the next tournament for the IBJJF, International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and some girl walks up to me and she says, "Oh, I just want to thank you because I got into this to shoot this tournament because of you."
Right.
And I'm trying to remember, and it just took me a second. I'm like, "Oh my God, I remember it. It was some girl I was talking to. This was right over here." I pointed to the corner. She's like, "Yeah." She says, "You gave me the email of somebody," and I started laughing because I hadn't remembered that. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's right. I gave you the email," and I was like, "Do not mention you got it from me." And she just said, "I just really want to thank you because I'm only here because I spoke to you and you extended yourself and you tried to help me understand what to do." And so she thanked me there, and about 2 days later, and that was the email I was going to read on the podcast. I had it in my notes for a previous podcast and we never got to it. But she sent me an email and she was just like, "I just want to thank you for doing that." She's like, "What is going on in my career?"
But she asked for help.
She did ask for help.
She extended herself and she reached out. Right. But I think the thing that you tend to not, and listen, like you say, you're not going to stop doing it. You're going to solicit as much as you can, possibly find photographers who need your help, whether they ask for it or not, and give them your critique and tell them if their work is good or bad. Which, like you say, is obnoxious. And as long as you have that understanding that it is, not everyone is ready for help and not everyone wants help.
And then you don't know who I am, and then you don't even know, maybe I am trying to take your money. You don't know, so whatever.
And it's not even that deep. I don't want, leave me alone, It's just, I'm fine, and leave me.
But, and I would say too about myself though, I've gone for help, like Selena Maitreya. I have given her money
you're on a constant,
to help me. But I'm saying and she was very helpful to me. Like Selena Maitreya, you can look her up. I'm not sure how you spell it, but look for Selena Maitreya. She's a photography consultant. I went to her, I paid her money to tell me, is my book good?
Money's coins.
Hey, I said, is my book good? And this woman said to me, this book would not get opened. She was like, everything's wrong with this book.
Right.
The edit is wrong. The number of images is wrong. The packaging is wrong. She said, this book would not get opened.
Shook
and I was
soul,
so glad she told me that. What's that?
Shook your soul.
It did.
Ready to change
I haven't shown that book
Right.
since, and now thanks to her, I've got a way better book. My book gets open now.
Right.
But I don't mind hearing it.
No.
I don't care. Like, tell me what's wrong. Let me fix it.
You're a different person though. Like I said, not everybody's open and ready for that. And like you said, you went to Selena,
Right.
Selena didn't call you and email you.
Yeah, I know.
John Ricard, your work sucks. Give me a call.
Hey, I'd be like, I'd call her though. Oh, and one other really quick thing I forgot to mention. Two other little stories. I was just about to wrap, but let me just tell two other little brief stories, okay?